Hey everyone, welcome back to Chat with FTO. Today we're going to be discussing the most recent update when it comes to the caregiver program. Just yesterday on Friday, IRCC overloaded us with tons of information to digest, and I hope you digested those information. If you didn't, we're here to bring clarity to those information they released yesterday. We want to make sure that you're doing everything correctly and you have a chance for you to apply when the program opens on March 31st. So I'm going to be looking through my phone because IRCC flooded us with tons of information, but we wanted to just bring an overview to what they said. So one of the first thing that caught my eye was they brought clarity to who can apply, because there was a lot of confusion there that is it going to be everybody that can apply for this pathway? No, who can apply for this pathway? You must be 18 years old. You must be a worker already living in Canada, and you must be authorized to work in Canada full time in any occupation through a valid work permit, maintain status, and they already created a public policy too. They created a public policy too for those people who are out of status. We're going to come back to that. So, like I said, you must be 18, worker already living in Canada. You're authorized to work in Canada in any occupation. So if you have an LMIA now that is restricted to another employer, you might not be eligible for this. It must be you're allowed to work in any occupation, your work permit. Okay? So I mentioned too that IRCC also created an out of status public policy. So they mentioned in the past that people who are out of status could apply, but there are only specific people who are out of status that can apply, not everybody. So if you're out of status, you can also apply for this pathway if you meet this requirement. If you're in Canada when you apply, of course, if you don't have authorization to work, but you have like a visitor's record or a valid temporary resident status, you entered Canada. This one is very important. You entered Canada legally on or before December 16th, 2021, and you've lived in Canada continuously since then. That information is very important because everybody was thinking that like all visitors who came into Canada right now can apply. Nope. It says here that you must have entered Canada legally on or before December 16th, 2021, and you've lived in Canada continuously since then. You must have a work permit at some period of your life in Canada or period of your stay, and you must not be inadmissible. This is for people who are out of status that can apply for this pathway. Now, who cannot apply? Because there's a lot of confusion in that. You cannot apply if you've made a refugee claim, if you're a visitor in Canada and you arrived after December 16th, if you're currently in Canada on a study permit, if you're under a removal order, and if you haven't had a work permit at any point of your current period of residence in Canada, you cannot apply for this pathway. Says it again. No refugee claimant, no student, no visitor who came after December 16th, no one under a removal order, and if you've never had a work permit, you cannot apply for the public policy that is the out of status public policy. You cannot apply. Now let's talk about eligible employers, because everybody was like everybody can be an employer. No, they're now giving us the required people that can be an employer. So you can be an employer if it's a private household, or if you're a business or non-profit organization that has a direct employer-employee relationship. This one is very important. They already mentioned initially that no agency can apply. So for an organization, you must be the one hiring your employee, you're the one managing their working hours, and you're paying your employee directly. So if you have a job offer from an agency, you cannot apply. Okay, let's talk about ineligible employers now. So like I said initially, no recruitment agency, no embassy or commission or consulate, or a person working for the government or for a diplomat. If your employer is not complicit, if you cannot be self-employed to apply, and your spouse, common law partner, parent, grandparent, or child cannot be an employer. These are key information. So let's talk about a recruitment agency now. So if you got a job offer from a recruitment agency, or a placement agency, they are not eligible to be your employer. If you got a job offer from your spouse or your parent or your grandparent or your child, they cannot be your employer. They didn't mention cousin on here, but they mentioned all the other immediate family. They cannot be your employer. If your employer was found not complicit, they cannot be your employer, and you cannot be self-employed to apply for this pathway. I said tons of information. Now let's talk about the job offer. So there's a little thing that they mentioned yesterday where is experience and job offer. They are two different things, because your experience, they can accept some experience, but they will not accept some job offer if you have experience. Do you understand? So they are two separate things, right? So they want to make sure that the only job offer they're going to accept, the job offer must come from either an home child care provider, or you have a job offer that falls under home support worker. So the job offer knock must fall under 44100 or 44101. Keep that in mind. Work experience and job offer, two different things. You need to meet both of them. But with job offer, your job offer must either be a child care job offer or a home support job offer, and it must be a full-time role. Ineligible job offer now. So if you got a job as a home support worker and the location is a nursing home, that job offer would not count. Keep that in mind. If you got a job offer from a nursing home, it's not an eligible job offer. Another job offer they will not accept is if you got a job offer as a child care located in a daycare. Keep that in mind now. Check your job offer letter. If you're working in a nursing home or you're working in a daycare, those job offer are not eligible. They also mentioned too that if you have a job offer as an early childhood educator, assistant, or nursing aide, patiently service assistant, those job offer do not meet the requirements. The experience do, but the job offer must fall under either home support worker 44100 or 44101. Okay, keep that in mind. So I did mention job offer and work experience. So job offer must be home support worker or home child care worker, right? That's the job offer. For work experience now, if you had a work experience as a nursing aide or a home support worker and it's 6 months continuous, you can claim that experience as a home support worker. If you had a experience working as an early childhood educator, or you're working as a home child care provider, you can claim 6 months of that experience. It must be continuous within the last 3 years. And keep in mind, if you apply for one pathway or one stream, the experience must correlate. So let's say, for example, now you have experience working as a child care and you're applying for the home support worker. You cannot use that your experience to apply for the home support worker. Your experience must match the child care. Your experience must match the home support worker. You cannot mix and match experience for the stream. So keep that in mind, okay? So ineligible experience would be if you worked as a student, full-time student, you do not meet, that experience does not count. I had an example. Someone called me yesterday and they said, oh, I worked part-time as a student, does that count? No, because generally as a part-time student, you're not even allowed to work. Only full-time students are allowed to work. So any experience you gain as a student does not count, unfortunately. Any experience you gained while you were self-employed does not count. So self-employed means that you're a contractor for an organization, does not count. Experience as a student does not count. Periods of unemployment does not count. Let's say, for example, you worked for this place for 3 months, then you stopped working there, then you were unemployed and you worked, does not count. It must be 6 months continuously in the last 3 months. The last 3 years. And any long-term sickness or parental leave does not count. Those are not eligible experience. So like I mentioned initially, job offer must be under home support worker or child care provider. Experience, you could have any experience as an early childhood operator, you can have experience in the nursing home, but you cannot claim it as a job offer, okay? Now, eligible trainings, because mentioned before that you need either 6 months of working experience or training. Now they've given us clarity to the training because a lot of people were running around with a lot of things. So with the training now, your training must be 6 months within or outside Canada. So any training credential that you have must be for at least 6 months. You must have completed it within for 6 months. Okay, so you cannot be online training, it cannot be you completed the program within 1 month. That is not approved. So approved training must be targeted based on the stream you're applying. So give you an example. If you're a home child care provider, your training should be under, you have a training as a home child care provider, or you have a training as an early childhood educator assistant. Those trainings will be approved. And now if you're applying under the home support worker, you're using the training experience, you must have training as a PSW or a nursing aide or patient lead. That would also be approved. But you cannot mix and match training. So you cannot say, oh, I have a PSW training but I want to apply for the child care. That does not work. Your training must be relevant to the stream you're applying under. And the training you must have completed the training for at least 6 months. Okay, and it's only within the last 2 years those trainings are accepted. So your training must have taken 6 months to complete, and it must be within the last 2 years. So what trainings is not accepted? The training that was targeted towards occupations that are not listed above. So let's say, for example, you said, oh, I'm a nurse, I want to apply nursing. Just because you're a nurse does not mean you meet the requirement for a caregiver, right? So they want to make sure that, like, if you're applying as a caregiver, you have training as a PSW, not a nursing license, not a nursing degree, a PSW certificate training. Okay, and also training that was not mainly training that was done mainly online. So if you completed the course online for 6 months, that does not count as a qualified training. And on the job training too does not count. They've made it really clear for us to understand that the training must be within, you must have completed it for 6 months. It must be either inside or outside Canada. The certificate must be correlating to the stream you're applying under. Okay, keep that in mind. So next up, how many applications are they taking in? So for workers in Canada now, online, if you're applying online, they're only taking 2,350 applications. And if for the out of status and unauthorized worker, they're only taking 125 applications online and 15 formatted alternate format and 260 alternate format. Now that's for the PSW. For the child care is the same amount of applications they're taking. So you want to make sure that you're applying for this pathway. The program is opening on March 31st at 10 a.m. Set your alarm, get everything ready. There's a lot of information out there. Make sure you read the website. They're going to update it. I know a lot of people now are a little bit turned on. They've released so many information. I don't meet the requirements anymore. Just check the eligibility. Make sure that you're applying knowing that you meet the requirement. Don't waste your time like applying and you know that you don't meet 90% of the requirements and you're submitting your application. If you're going to submit the application, you have a high chance of refusal. Just make sure you package your application correctly. The forms are on the website. The information are on the website. Make sure you have everything submitted. Is it going to close on March 31st when they open it? I don't know. Is it going to close afterwards? I don't know. So it really depends on the amount of people that apply on that day. So for now, it's bye and good luck, and see you guys soon. Bye.